Hi there. I want to talk about how repetition inspires creativity. You see, I'll give you the example of 4 icons. The first one is Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, I walked and thought. That every time I wanted to get inspired with thoughts, I took a walk. Goethe paced and dictated. Charles Dickens rode on horseback to get inspired. And Mozart composed in the back of a carriage. So 4 of them, Mark Twain, Charles Dickens, Goethe, and Mozart. All these 4 icons had one thing in common. Every time they wanted to get inspired, every time they wanted to create, they moved. Every time they wanted to create, they moved. So once again, Mark Twain paced and dictated, Dickens walked and thought, Goethe composed on horseback, and Mozart at the back of a carriage. Now, I want to explain why this works. The brain is divided into the logical brain and the creative brain. One more time, the brain is divided into the logical brain and the creative brain. The logical brain performs functions like verbal functions, analytical, logical functions, that's where you do your maths, your analysis, your English, composition of sentences and all that. Then you have the other brain, the creative brain, that controls emotion, intuition, and creativity. But guess what? When we engage in repetition, the creative brain becomes more dominant and the logical brain becomes less dominant. So the creative brain becomes the more dominant brain when we engage in repetition. Now, movement is one of the ways to engage in repetition. So when you are moving, let's say you are taking a walk, you are actually taking repeated steps. So I want to talk about 4 ways you can engage repetition to boost your creativity. I call it the VARM. V stands for visualization. If you repeatedly visualize a thing, you visualize, you're obsessed with a particular dream or vision or idea, you repeatedly visualize it, and you will activate your creative brain and you will get creative. Case in point, Walt Disney. Walt Disney had an idea for a little theme park, but as he repeatedly visualized it, it became larger and larger and larger and larger and larger and larger, such that even at some points, people couldn't even understand the magnitude of what was in his brain, what was in his head. Visualization is one of the ways. The second one is affirmation. You can take an affirmation and repeat it. I enjoy people to get to a point where they can take an affirmation and repeat it 1,000 times. Do you know you can repeat a sentence 1,000 times in 30 minutes? You just go into a quiet place and take 1,000 affirmations in 30 minutes. It's enough to get your brain into the dominant stage. It's enough to get your creative brain into the dominant phase. So in 30 minutes, you can catapult this. You can do it. In 30 minutes, you can take an affirmation, 1 sentence affirmation, at least 1,000 times in 30 minutes. So that's the second thing you can do. The third thing you can do is what I call routine. It means that if you have a regular routine, you are eating at the same time, sleeping at the same time, exercising at the same time, waking up at the same time, washing up at the same time, working at the same time. After a while, your body will register it as a circadian rhythm and it will get you into creative mode just because you are maintaining a regular routine and a regular pattern. It will just get you in that same creative mode. Now, that being said, the next thing I want to talk about is the final one, M. M stands for movement. Movement means anything from exercise. When you're exercising, you are taking repeated movements, whether you are swimming, repeated movements, whether you are doing cardiovascular training, high intensity interval training, or resistance movements, you are doing repeated exercises. If you do it sufficiently for about 20-30 minutes, it's enough to activate your creative brain. And that's why a lot of people say, oh, I get inspired when I am exercising, because repetition activates the creative brain. That's why people say I get inspired when I'm showering, because in showering, you are doing repeated hand movements. One of the keys that makes showering a trigger for creativity is the repeated movements. Repetition inspires innovation. So VARM, visualization, affirmation, repetition, and movement. I hope this works well for you. Do have an amazing day and bye for now. So did you find this video insightful? Or do you want to be part of my Immersion Life Academy or my Immersion Bible Academy, where I train people on every concept of the Bible in detail, in Hebrew and in Greek? You can call the numbers below and we will serve you. Kemi sends her love as always. Do have an amazing day and bye for now.